Welcome back to another episode of the Fat Man and Robin podcast. I did the wrong intro. This is the Fat Man Stevens podcast. Good Lord, I am tired. Hello everybody. It's been a while. This is Fat Man Stevens, Marcus Fat Man Stevens. I can't even do this intro. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? Well, it's been a very long time since I just did a solo episode. Um, last time we talked was Mark was involved, and we talked about basketball, and that was nice. It was something different. Hope you guys enjoyed that. But we back to talking about things that I know most about, and what I know most about is professional wrestling and video games. And you may be wondering, Marcus, have you beaten any of those other games we talked about? You know, you talking playing Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West and Monarch and Ghostwire Tokyo. And since the last time I recorded solo, we talked about Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. And I beat that, but nothing else in terms of new games. You know what I played recently? I played two games on Game Pass. I played Vampire Survivors on PC Game Pass. Holy crap, this game is addicting. I love roguelike games. I love like games where you spend enough time and you favorite replayability, you keep going over and over. I've been a big fan of roguelike games since Binding of Isaac. You know, then that one for Entering the Gungeon and so on and so forth. And I really like Vampire Survivors. I think when that first Thursday or Friday it came out, I put in, and that whole weekend I put in like 15, 20 hours. And I still play it seldomly whenever they update it because it's still in game preview, so it's not completed yet. And they keep adding stuff. They just had added like this weird mode. So I really haven't really played it since then. So I'll probably get back to it. But Vampire Survivors is fantastic. And I also just played Echo Generation on the console, which is like a indie turn-based RPG that's really like like Paper Mario and takes inspirations from that, and it was really fun. So fun that I actually got all 50 achievements, which is something I haven't done on Xbox in a very long time. Like I really got swept up in it, and it was only a 7-hour game. It felt much longer than 7 hours, but I really enjoyed that. This is officially June now, so we're getting closer to some games coming out. I'm pretty sure Xbox is going to start announcing some big games for this year for the holiday season coming up. Redfall. I hope they talk about Redfall on Sunday for their press conference because they were supposed to come out in 2022. I believe they announced that last year, and we haven't seen anything from it since. Obviously, COVID's still a thing, and people working from home, remote working. So I get that. I hope it's still on track for this year. I hope we get to see something about Perfect Dark, maybe. Um, I'm just interested in seeing what Xbox has the games that we don't know anything about that may be releasing this year. Maybe like Gears Tactics 2 or something like that. You know, something that can tie us over for the holiday season. But I'm looking forward to seeing their show this weekend. I think this Friday the Quarry comes out and Mario Strikers for the Switch. The Quarry I'm really a big fan of. You know I love if you guys don't know, I love narrative based adventure action games like that. So like, and I think that really started from my love of like Indigo Prophecy and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. And you know I played and beat all the Quantic Dream games, and I know the company may have its problems, but Indigo Prophecy, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human, I beat them all. Didn't like them all. I think Beyond Two Souls is probably the weakest of the four. And of course, I play like Until Dawn, and I try to play. I haven't played all the Dark Pictures game. I haven't played the newest one. I played Man of Medan, or is that what it's called? The one on the ship. I played a little bit of Little Hope. I didn't beat it, and I have not played House of Ashes yet. So I think they're doing another one. Is it this year or whatever? But the Quarry is their first big release I think since Until Dawn, but they want $70 for PS5, so I might just rent it. It's only gonna be like a 7 to 10 hour game anyway. But the cast is in it. Isn't it Brenda Song and like, God, what's his name? David Arquette in it. There's a lot of stars in that game, so I do want to give it a try, eventually. But I don't know if I want to spend $70 for it, and especially because I haven't beaten any of the other games I have on PS5. Um, Other than that, we should be getting revved up for the holiday season. Oh well, actually, next month is pretty lit because you have Live a Live come out July 22nd, and then the big one for me for the summer is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I never beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I'm all about turn-based role-playing games. Y'all know that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming up for that. So hopefully, we get to see that in action, or I'll get to play that sooner rather than later. And then Soul Hackers comes out in August. Soul Hackers 2. Didn't play the first one, but again, I'm a huge role playing fan, so I'm going to play it because it's turn based role playing, and that's just my jam. I don't know. I thought Chino was coming downstairs or something like that. But yeah, the summer for me is really about JRPGs, and then the fall we still don't really know too much about. Gotham Knights comes out in October. They announced the Callisto Protocol comes out in December, so that's two big games coming out this year that I want to see, that I want to play at the end of the year. I'm just trying to search real quick for any other games that have release dates for the fall that I want to play, because I'm not too sure off the top of my head. Let's see. No, I'm not. Splatoon knows come out in September, but no, it's not for me. The Lord of the Rings Gollum. I don't know if I'm excited for that just yet. I've heard that it's. I mean, the previews I've read are just like, they kind of not very excited. Oh, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero comes out just September 27th. Yes, I'm a huge fan of the Trails series. I still have not beaten Trails 3. I don't even own Trails 4. It'll probably take me, like what happened with the Trails of Heroes, the Legend of Heroes series. I played the first one when it came out on PS Vita. That's how long ago it was, and I never beat it. And then when it came out for PS4, the remaster, I said, well, this is the opportunity. I have to play them. And I bought the first one, played it for a little bit, didn't beat it. And then it was like a random like summer. It was 2019, and I just played them, and I got addicted to the first one, and I instantly beat the first one. And once I knew I was getting close to beating the first one, I bought the second one digitally, beat the first one, went straight into the second one, and I was really hooked on it. But that was a long summer where I played both of those games. But I would really like to get back into it and beat 3 and 4, and then play Trails from Zero so I can get the get what happened beforehand, the prequel and all that. So that comes out. I definitely want to play that. Gotham Knights, like I said, comes out on the 25th. I don't care about Modern Warfare. Pokemon, no, I don't really care. I haven't really played a new Pokemon game since, like mainstream one since, it's been a while, actually. I played the Arceus, but I didn't really get too much into it. Games that are announced but have not had no release dates. Bayonetta 3 is still supposed to come out this year. I don't believe that. Braid Anniversary Edition. Dang, Braid's been out for a long time, hasn't it? It's like that's like one of the first indie games that's come out. The Dark Picture, Devil in Me. Okay, so that's probably gonna come out in October or something like that. The Diofield Chronicle, tactical role playing game by Square Enix. Yep, I remember seeing about that, and I was kind of looking forward to it. Not like super on board, but I think Returnee's already out, isn't it? Why is it on this list? Oh, yeah, doing a Front Mission remake. I forgot about that. Oh, God of War Ragnarok, which is supposed to be coming out in September, hopefully. That would be a big game for September. That would be a big game for 2022 in general. Hogwarts Legacy. Oh, definitely want to play that after they did the PlayStation thing on it. I definitely want to play that. That's coming out in fall, so. Marvel's Midnight Suns, which was supposed to have been out by now, right? It's supposed to come out in March. So hopefully that gets a release date like August, September. Oxenfree 2, haven't played that. Oh, the Prince of Persia remake, which should have been out by now. Prince of Persia is probably one of my favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time. Like probably one of my favorite just platformers, action platformers that really kind of started the genre for me. And I really hope that comes out eventually. I think that's it. Oh, Sonic Frontiers. The gameplay looked okay. Somebody said in the comments, it's Breath of the Wild but with Sonic. And if that's the case, Breath of the Wild is supposed to be amazing. So, well, you know how I feel about Breath of the Wild. I think it's a great game, but just a little overhyped. Star Ocean: The Divine Force. Now that's something I'm looking forward to. I know the Star Ocean games the Star Oceans have had an up and down relationship. I've played all five of them, and I've only beaten the fourth one, and the fourth one is one people really don't even like. But I've only beaten the fourth one because it was one of the few Xbox 360 JRPGs. Well, not one of the few. Xbox 360 was filled with JRPGs, if I'm being honest. But that was one of the ones I beat. I beat that, and then I played Tales of Vesperia. So I'm looking forward to the Divine Force. I don't really know too much about it. Again, they only announced it back. They announced it this year as a PlayStation event. I'm losing track of time. Was it this year they announced it? I don't know when they announced it, but when they did, I was like, oh. Anytime I see it, like one of these JRPGs like coming back, I'm always like, it's always weird to me. It's always just like, where's Wild Arms? Where's Shadow Hearts? Why aren't these ones coming back? Why is Star Ocean getting a sixth game? Was the fifth one so? The fifth one sucked. I really didn't like. Well, I'm not gonna say sucked. It just wasn't what I wanted. I don't like saying the game sucks. Oh, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game? Yes. The new beat 'em up coming? I definitely want to play that. They're making a game based on Turbo Kid. Turbo Kid was a good movie. Okay, so that looks like it's all. But yeah, I think of all the games I don't have a release date for 2022, I think the best one coming out is going to be God of War Ragnarok. I cannot wait for that game. I'm very excited for it. God of War is who. When you talk about the best PS4 games of all time, it's very tough because there's two that immediately come to my mind. Well, three, and it's four. There's so many that come to my mind. And God of War, Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Bloodborne, Spider-Man. Those are like the top five games. And it's funny to even think about that. Like Persona, for me, I'm such a big Persona 5 fan, and I don't even put that with those because it is interchangeable. I can take out Bloodborne for Persona 5. Honestly, I probably would. But God of War stands up there as one of the best, if not the best PlayStation 4 game. Maybe the best game of this generation. Of that generation. Maybe. Between that and Last of Us Part 2. I know people weren't a big fan of Last of Us Part 2. They're like, oh, what really happened in the story? It's like life, the gray areas of life. That's what I really enjoyed about Last of Us. Man, I'm just looking forward to what's coming out. I'm looking forward to seeing these release dates for these big games. Xbox blow my mind away because we're not getting E3 this year, which is very weird as a gamer. E3's been such a big part of my life since G4 used to air E3 back in the 2000s. Like, that was what I look forward to. Like, I remember when Final Fantasy 13 was announced, and I'll never forget when Square Enix didn't want them to really focus too much on the screen, so they had to pull the camera out, and you would just see the screen as the people were seeing the screen. You weren't seeing like a direct shot into it. It was so strange to me. But they didn't. I guess I don't know if they wanted to be like, oh, Final Fantasy 13. They wanted to shock you. I don't know what the actual motivation or goal at the end of that was, but I remember being super hyped for Final Fantasy 13 regardless. I think about one of the biggest thing I think of when it comes to E3 is I remember like the three-piece combo of The Last Guardian being announced, the release date being announced, Final Fantasy 7 remake, and then Shenmue 3 being really like talked about back to back to back to back basically, and it was like crazy that Sony was just doing all this for all these gamers. So I miss E3 already, and I hope they find a way to bring it back next year because I feel like that's such a staple for gaming fans and gaming community and things like that. All right, wrestling. Whew, the wrestling world has been ridiculous in this past just like the past 2 weeks alone. And if you talk about the MJF controversy, you talk about the injuries to CM Punk and Cody Rhodes and Matt Cardona. Like, these are all guys who are killing it and are all gonna have to take a little bit of a break. And they're all like different injuries, which is strange. CM Punk has a foot injury. Cody has a torn pectoral. Freaking Matt Cardona has a torn bicep, and these guys are all at one time just like killing it in his respectful divisions. Double or Nothing was another great AEW pay-per-view. The anarchy in the arena match was effing ridiculous. the fact that it was just wild, just a fight all over the building, anarchy in the arena, 5 stars, 100%. The triple threat tag team match between Team Taz, Swerve in Our Glory, and Jurassic Express was amazing as well. I love the storytelling in the main event. CM Punk and Hangman was a great match, but what was even greater was the story they continue to tell with Hangman Adam Page. Like, just because he won a championship doesn't mean that he's over his insecurities, and that's how it is in life. Even though you may get what you really want in life, you may still have the insecurities in the back of your mind. And Hangman had one moment of trepidation, one moment of like, should I do this or not? And he second guessed himself, and it cost him the championship. And I'm interested in seeing his story arc back to the World Championship. I think Hangman will probably be the first person to be a 2-time AEW champion. If you're not counting Moxley, because I feel like obviously now we know. Let's talk about it. CM Punk won an AEW championship at Double or Nothing in 2022. 5 days later, he had to relinquish it because of an injury, or excuse me, he had to say he was going to take a time off to get the injury fixed, surgery. And now they're going to be crowning an interim AEW champion this Wednesday, the Wednesday that this episode will come out. So they're doing a battle royal on the Star Dynamite. The winner of the battle royal faces Jon Moxley in the main event. The winner of that match will then take on Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door June 26th in Chicago. Obviously, the match is Moxley versus Tanahashi because that is the main event match. That is a match that has been brewing in New Japan Pro Wrestling and other companies as well. When I watched the New Japan event where Moxley fought Will Ospreay for the first time in the main event, and the singles match, they teased it then. And Moxley's been calling out Tanahashi since he was U.S. champion, like during the pandemic, before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after. So that match has to happen, and I feel like that would be a great. And that'll be a great main event. Obviously, we still have to see what for Forbidden Door, what New Japan is doing. Their world champion is still undecided because, again, this Sunday is Okada versus Jay White. And it can go either way. Okada is the guy that I'm most curious to see who's wrestling because everybody wants Okada. Everybody deserves Okada, but it's like, who do the fans want to see the most? I personally, what I think most of the people want to see is Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. Now, does that mean the world championship? Not at all. I personally, I would like to see Jay White beat Okada. Have Jay White face Adam Page, and then you have Okada just challenge Bryan Danielson. Like that way you get 2 matches that I think are really good. I think Jay White and Page will put on a fantastic match, and it would help Page even descend further into his insecurities if he loses another big world championship match on pay-per-view. I feel like that would help his character arc even more, go even deeper. And again, it's just a great match. I think they would put on a fantastic match. Jay White versus Alex Shelley at whatever Impact event that was. Sacrifice? Where was it? What happened? What pay-per-view was that? That match was fantastic. That was probably the best match of the night. Jay White's one of my favorite wrestlers outside of AEW and WWE, and I feel like that would be a fun matchup if they're not building towards Cole and White. I don't know. There's so many people who I want to see on the card don't have places yet. Obviously, nobody. Honestly, the only match that we know is the world title match between Tanahashi and whoever wins, which is probably gonna be Moxley. I do want to see FTR and Guerrillas of Destiny go 1-on-1 for the Ring of Honor tag titles. I think that would be fun. They've already teased that United Empire, Jeff Cobb and Great Okan will probably be facing FTR. Those are the ones who attacked them. I feel like Guerrillas of Destiny needs a spot on here. Obviously, you need to have Bullet Club on here somehow. Naito needs to be on there. Okada, Tanahashi. Your big names have to be on there. Hiromu has to be on there. So, who are these people getting? What matches are we getting? Again, for me, flesh out the undercard. Give me Moxley, Tanahashi, Jay White, Page, and Okada and Danielson. That's what I want. Now, let's talk about MJF. MJF has been very clear in the past year, this past whole year, of his contract being up, and then there'd be a bidding war for him in 2024. WWE would throw money at MJF to spite AEW. We all know that. They are very done with Cody Rhodes. So now his everything that happened Double or Nothing weekend, for him no showing the meet and greet, to maybe not even performing at Double or Nothing, to getting squashed, and then his epic promo on AEW following, where he goes off on everybody, calls Tony Khan an effing mark. Perfection. When professional wrestling blurs the lines between fiction and reality, you always get amazingness. You always get people talking about it. You always draw. And MJF is probably one of the biggest draws in AEW, sans CM Punk. And probably Moxley. And, Jericho, people like that. But he's a huge draw. If Tony Khan loses MJF for something like this, I'd be very shocked. I do feel like it's all a work. I don't think like the stuff that happened the weekend of Double or Nothing was a work, but obviously he did a work shoot on the mic, and really a lot of his grievances out. Same way CM Punk did back in 2011. I feel like that's the same kind of atmosphere you have of how much is reality and how much is fiction, and that's again great professional wrestling when you can blur those lines. When you have fans leaving the arena like, did I see something I wasn't supposed to see? That's what you want for professional wrestling. And so especially in terms of now everybody knows it's scripted, everybody knows all the storylines, everything's already kind of leaked out on the internet. When you have such a real, authentic experience like this, you really just go like, this is what I can get behind. This is professional wrestling. This is nice. So we'll see what happens with MJF. I hope it's part of a grand storyline. Part of me also wants MJF to be the interim champion and face Punk and somehow, beat the usurper and kind of take the championship away. Kind of do a storyline with that. But who knows? Who knows? That whole storyline is crazy. I'm very intrigued. I'm watching now every week to see when if MJF will show up, or what are they going to do next, or if they're going to even mention it. Of course, you heard there was a rumor of the edict from Warner Brothers Discovery to not put MJF on any promotional materials or anything like that. I don't know how much of that is a work either, but I'm very intrigued by this whole situation. So we'll see what happens with that. Cody Rhodes is injured, torn pectoral muscle, completely torn off the bone. This man says, hey, I still want to perform at Hell in a Cell in the main event and wrestle 25 minutes against Seth Rollins. Are you crazy, Cody? But stuff like that, I'm for it and against it. I'm for it because people have come to Hell in a Cell, sold out show, Chicago. There's no World Championship main event. This is the only Hell in a Cell match on a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. People come to see this type of match, so Cody says, I gotta perform. So thank you for giving the people their money's worth. It's incredibly stupid because you're injured and you can't use your dominant arm, but it didn't stop Cody from putting on one of the best matches of his career. It's one of the most guttiest performances that has ever happened in professional wrestling recorded. And if he is not, after being Seth Rollins for the third time, if he is not in the world title picture, when he comes back or whatever, he cut a promo on Raw tonight saying that he would like to, if by some miracle he performed in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like we should wait. I really do feel like you can kind of push a storyline out where Cody loses to like Reigns at, obviously everybody talks about SummerSlam or whatever. He loses to Reigns the first time, wins the Rumble, and faces Reigns on. If Reigns is still double champion, you have Cody and Reigns night 1, and then Rock and Reigns night 2. But how far are we going to get? Because also McIntyre's already called a shot for Clash at the Castle. Are you really going to have McIntyre lose in the UK at their first big event show in I don't even know how many years, in 30 years? I don't know. That's crazy. So we have to see. I think there's a lot of moving factors. I just know that I have hell of respect for Cody Rhodes to perform. I have more respect for Cody Rhodes than Roman Reigns right now in terms of performing on pay-per-view. Because Reigns is not defending the pay-per-view, the titles in now 2 months. since he's had them, since he's had both championships. And I don't like them putting a monopoly on their world titles with so much talent that could be competing for it. Like Rollins and Rhodes couldn't fight for a title the last 3 months. You know, I don't like that. Not at all. Sorry, yawning. So Cody's now out. Torn pectoral muscle could take anywhere between 3 to 8 months, or 3 to 6 months. Excuse me. Remember when Cena had tore his pectoral? He was out for 3 months, came back. So I feel like Cody will have that same motivation, that drive to come back. Speaking of Cena, Cena's coming back on the 27th of June, which is also his 20th year anniversary, which is also a few days before Money in the Bank. Obviously, he won't set up a match for Money in the Bank because it's too small of a show now, because it's just inside of an arena and not a stadium. But you never know with WWE. But he just definitely most likely set up a SummerSlam match. The SummerSlam match I want to see is him and Austin Theory. Because Austin Theory can wrestle, I feel like it would be a much better match than Reigns and Cena, much better on like actual wrestling. So we'll see what happens with that as well. I'm very curious, very, very curious to see what happens with that when Cena comes back. The big news from Monday Night Raw with two big stories was that Finn Balor has joined the Judgment Day, and that they kicked out Edge. This is probably WWE, putting Edge aside for a little bit. Edge did wrestle like every pay-per-view this year, right? He was in the Rumble. Was he at Crown Jewel? Did he wrestle at Crown Jewel? I don't remember. But he was at just about almost every pay-per-view this year. Or I'm sorry, not Crown Jewel. Elimination Chamber was the name of the pay-per-view. I don't remember if he wrestled or not because it was so long ago. No, he wasn't. But he's been on almost every pay-per-view this year. He just did 3 back-to-back between WrestleMania and WrestleMania Backlash and Hell in a Cell. They probably don't want to put him on Money in the Bank, so they probably just wrote him off for a little bit. And then the question is, does Edge team with Styles to take on Judgment Day to finish them? Or does Edge call on an old rival in John Cena to take him on at SummerSlam? Edge and John Cena versus Balor and Priest is a great, young versus old. Even though Priest and Balor are like close to their 40s. So, we'll see what happens. For me, the biggest news story coming out this week, Monday, Night Raw, was Rhea Ripley is now number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship. So we're getting the dream match of Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair on WWE television. I'm all for it. I'm very excited. I think that's going to be a money matchup. They can kick off the show. Two powerhouses. I've been craving this matchup on the main roster since Bianca won the Rumble in 2021, and you can see their parallel careers. This is like Cena and Batista, and it sucks that it's not in front of in the stadium because I think this would have been a really good stadium match. But the people in Las Vegas are in for a treat. I cannot wait to see these two ladies tear the house down at Money in the Bank. Obviously, this is probably leading up to Becky and Bianca. I guess this is 3, 4 at SummerSlam this year again, which is fine. I feel like they have great chemistry, and usually SummerSlam has a WrestleMania rematch, and if that's the rematch, then I'm all for that. And obviously we'll get Randy Orton versus Reigns at SummerSlam as well to prep up Reigns for McIntyre and Clash at the Castle. So WWE's doing some big things. Money in the Bank. Early predictions winners for me. Kevin Owens is probably my number one pick based on his ongoing storyline. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes if he comes back. I think it'd be kind of cool if Cody can beat Reigns somehow for one of the championship for both, and then Rollins will cash in and ruin the moment. Cause he ruined Cody's exit. He was trying to leave, and then boom, here he comes and hits him with a sledgehammer. Kudos for Cody for hitting the pedigree on Rollins and Hell in a Cell as well. That was fantastic. As a fan of Triple H, I popped pretty big for that. I popped pretty big for the pedigree. But yes, that's professional wrestling as well. It's crazy right now. All companies are going crazy. Again, I hope everybody gets well soon. CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Matt Cardona. Didn't really talk about Matt Cardona, but he was crushing it. NWA World Champion, Impact Media Champion, all the various championships he had in all independent wrestling. It just comes at a horrible time where his momentum was at the highest of his career. But I think that would help him. I think Matt Cardona is one of those guys you'll see in like WWE again, once again, like kind of like how Cody did eventually, to win or try to win a world championship or get another feud in WWE. I think Cardona has that kind of ability. Same thing with like W. Morrissey. Now that he's left Impact, I feel like WWE will be calling pretty soon. All right, but that's it for me. I am done talking about professional wrestling and video games. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of FatmanStephens podcast. We are on all platforms, or I am on all platforms. Jesus, I gotta get better at this. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Deezer, Overcast. Any way you get your podcast, it's the FatmanStephens. FatmanStephens is one word, podcast. Also on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. So everything on there. And we will see you again for another episode of the podcast next week. And by we, it is only me here. I'm doing all the editing and all of that. So thanks so much for joining us. I'll see you again next week. I'll get better, guys. I promise. Bye-bye.